In a rapidly expanding omniverse of sci-fi content, two Terrans try to make sense of it all. From the latest to the greatest to the most thought-provoking science fiction content on the screen, we bring you Crowded Space Podcast!
All right, here we go. Welcome to the Crowded Space Podcast. This is episode 9 for Star Wars Andor on Disney+. I'm Eric, one of your hosts.
And I'm your other host, Jarod. Yeah, so in this episode, we're doing the total frequency of Andor, like my good buddy Eric just said. And so what that means is that we're going to be going through some of the high notes, you know, the things that really impressed us and stood out and we thought were really cool. The low notes, maybe some of the things that creative choices we didn't agree with, or just bad writing or bad acting or whatnot. And we're also going to do the static, things that really got under our skin or we thought just didn't make a lick of sense.
Right. Yeah. So this will be replacing our good, bad, ugly that we had going on in the beginning. We thought this was more like the style for being a sci-fi podcast.
Yeah, it's more thematically aligned with what we want to do with this here podcast.
Right.
So, do you want to recap Andor a little bit for us? Just
so
generally, what is it about?
What the beauty of Andor? Well, it's kind of like a double-edged sword, because Andor wasn't much like commercialized as all the other shows that Disney Plus put out for their Star Wars universe. And the beauty about that was it was kind of like a diamond in the rough type of thing, where it really surprised me. Yeah, I think every third episode is when it picks up, but all in all, I really enjoyed it. What about you? Did you like it? I know you had a little hard time in the beginning to get into it, but
I didn't. Well, like I kind of want to just talk about the overall plot, just give it a quick synopsis to the listeners.
Yeah, I thought we could just move into that. Just
sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, in general, I thoroughly enjoyed Andor. I recommend it to any Star Wars fan out there. Though I guess it's a bigger diversity of people these days than it was 10 years ago, and that's not a bad thing at all.
The series.
But you were right though. To answer your question, okay. You were right. I did have a hard time getting into it, and
we were supposed to do this 3 episodes ago, but.
It essentially took me being on my ass with the flu to finally binge watch Andor.
I hear ya. I got the same flu. And then last week during the Christmas,
please everyone listen to Black Hole, because it was pretty much that was the point where your host Jarod was patient zero, infected the entire Taylor household for the pod. It was for the pod.
But you know what? You made it. You made it up by allowing my family. We had no power for a whole weekend, and he let us stay at his house while he was away celebrating Christmas Eve. You are an amazing friend, and I couldn't think anybody else in this world to have a podcast with. So I appreciate it, man.
Oh, you guys are always welcome.
But let's go back to Andor. So this comes from the movie
Rogue One, where the main character is essentially introduced as
good. I enjoyed it.
One of many main characters.
If you want to watch the quote unquote prequel of Rogue One, and if you enjoyed Rogue One, this is kind of like Cassian Andor's story of how he became a rebel, and it's pretty good.
Actually, that's as succinct as you can get it. How he becomes a rebel. Yeah,
I like the fact that he's dark. It's like Han Solo, right? Obviously, he shot first when when he was in the cantina. Absolutely. So it's like the same type of style where it's this a smuggler underworld type of espionage spy thing, and there's not much on emphasis for Jedis and all that. But I still think that one of them is a hidden Jedi. But we'll get to that at some point.
Yeah, that might be part of the static. No. Yeah, and just to add,
Yeah, go for it.
To that is, give some backstory on Cassian Andor. Well, quite a bit, obviously, since it's the show named after him.
I like the opening music too. It's good.
And maybe this could be a good segue into the high notes. It also gives us the backstory and about Mon Mothma and how she became a rebel. And she was one of these people that always stood out to me that I wanted to know more about.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Like her and Akbar. And so that's why Akbar's death seemed like a huge waste.
What death? What are you talking about?
Oh, okay. We're Indiana Jones and this new Star Wars movie.
What are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about.
Crystal Skull. What are you talking about?
Mutt? Who's that?
No idea.
Don't know.
Moving on. Yeah. So I just wanted to say real quick that Andor is also following Mon Mothma and how she uses her political influence and family wealth. To support the rebels. As well as the story of essentially the nemesis of Andor, up and coming Imperial officer.
Oh, he was first. He was
Cyril.
a corporate. Yeah. He was corporate stooge.
Yeah, a young officer that essentially gets on the trail of Andor and essentially. His whole life becomes about hunting down Cassian.
Mama's boy there.
Well, yeah. That's it. Yeah. Kind of not really.
Right. Cool thing about it was the fact that they started with the dark when he got himself into trouble and it caused all this spotlights to come on him, and then they chasing him down because they wanted to capture him because he had killed people, and then you saw the whole story about that and this planet. And I like the fact that they use different areas of that, just not the same spot like Tatooine or Coruscant. Well, they have Coruscant.
That was my concern. Actually,
really?
Starting it was like, oh, is this whole thing going to be on this one dreary, miserable planet?
They know how to do some. They know how to bang cans together, right?
Yeah. Well, so hey, I think officially we're getting into the
high notes. Yeah, let's do it up.
All right. Yeah.
Let's go. You start. I started last time.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. What's your high notes?
It's a pretty long list.
Okay.
We'll try to keep it succinct. I'll start off with great quotes. There are just so many, and I guess to elaborate on that a little bit more, the dialogue in general is just so killer and so well put together.
Yeah.
Throughout the whole
really
series.
They put a lot of thought in it.
There might be some wasted scenes, like they could have cut that. I don't really care about that character. But I swear there's no wasted dialogue. It is sharp.
Yeah.
And when you're dealing with kind of a spy thriller, it can be really easy to lose the viewer with all the subterfuge and double talk and blah, blah, blah. And so they walk that line of there's great intrigue and spy thriller stuff going on.
Yeah.
But I felt like I always knew what was going on. And it was because just everything was so well written. So just to list off some of my favorite quotes, just bang them out there. And I don't know if you have any. I was writing them down.
I probably don't. But let's hear your quotes.
Hopefully you remember them. So best way to keep a blade sharp. I think that was a quote between Cyril and the other commanding officer. What was his name? The big Linus.
Well, the Sarge. We'll call him the Sarge. How about that? He was pretty good too.
He was such a fun character.
Yeah, he was. Yeah. He was kind of like it reminded me of O'Brien and friggin'
a little bit. I mean, they were going for the working man.
Even if I'm typecasting the
boots on the ground,
Scottish accent.
Yeah, they were definitely going for the meat and potato and Imperial with the Sarge there, with Linus. Well, anyway, yeah, best way to keep Blade sharp. And that was talking about, I think, going out and taking their men to look after Andor for the case that they were otherwise gonna.
Yeah, I like that whole scene too when they storm the planet. That was cool.
I like it when Cyril there gives his speech, and it just is a total dud, and you see like this guy doesn't know what he's doing. The rebellion comes first. We take what's left. Another great quote, just to show the dedication.
Yeah,
and then essentially that same line was reused by the person it was used on, so it just made it.
And I like the fact that Andor just kills one of the criminals that helped him do the heist. He just because he was going to steal the money. He was going to take the money.
Yeah. It's like, okay, this is a dangerous, messed up situation.
Yeah, and he just shoots him.
And you are a wild card.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's what I love about it, because it's dark, it's gritty, and it's definitely, like you said, a spy thriller in Star Wars. It was good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. How many guards on each level? Right? Because it just...
Look at you over there with the quotes.
Him repeating it again and again, and then when Kino finally realized the situation that he was in, and became a rebel.
Yeah.
Then he asked it again.
The whole prison.
So yeah,
the whole prison thing was amazing.
Yeah, I think that was my personal highlight.
I think it
he
brought
doesn't
together
like a good prison break, and then that was a top-notch, really cool prison break.
Yeah. Are you coming? No, I can't.
Well,
swim.
yeah, you're gonna learn or something. I don't know. Or
I think he was just afraid to leave because he's like, it's like in Shawshank. Remember the old guy that got released?
Yeah. No, that's for sure real.
The one that, and at the end, he, spoiler for Shawshank, but the guy, he doesn't make it in the real world and writes a letter. But I think that's what it was. I don't think he wanted to go. He was afraid to leave because he was something there. And in the prison, he was something. It was like, quote unquote, like the foreman or the floor lead or whatever you want to call it.
Sad little king on a sad little hill. But still.
Yeah.
Let's
hear some more.
Condemned to use the weapons of my enemies. Do you remember that at all? No. Okay. This is the spy master. Essentially, and that was one of my highlight scenes as well. Is when he's talking to his inside man in the Imperial Intelligence Office. And he's like, I live in constant fear and I've given you all this information. Yeah. What have you given up? And he's like, everything. And just lists off,
I remember that.
All my attachments, all my love.
He was in the little dark corner, like at the bottom of an elevator and nowhere. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
That was a good scene.
What would you give up? So, really put...
You should have just killed him. You should have just drawn his blaster and just shot him.
Oh, no. I mean, that would have made zero sense in the plot.
Why not?
It would have made zero sense.
He's a spy master.
He threw away one of his other connections.
He's a spy master. He
threw away some rebels to a certain death to protect this guy as a source. So you wouldn't just blaster shoot him. But anyway,
hey, we got to cut loose ends.
And then my personal top literally brought tears to my eyes. Beautiful quote. Love you more than anything you could do wrong. I don't know where they got that. If they just, one of the writers pulled it from deep down in their heart.
I'm telling you, they had some good writers.
They
had some stellar writers.
Such a great line to hear from your worker buddy, friend of the family, from the lips of your dying mother.
Yeah.
Just especially she's in context of him hiding his rebel activities from her, but really she's a rebel instigator. But yeah. Well, I'm gonna give you some high note time because my list.
That his mother was in Harry Potter, right? That's the aunt.
Okay.
Well, I'm just saying. So she's she did a good job with acting.
She can act.
Definitely. I mean, they all were really good. My favorite parts, like I said, I like the underworld, nitty gritty. You know me, when it comes to Star Wars. I'm like the smuggler or the bounty hunter. I like that style. I love the fact that so that's my first thing, the dark and the nitty gritty spy thriller. And I also love the fact that they tied in the whole thing with the Star Destroyers, or the Death Star, I mean. When they had the Death Star, when they're in the prison and they're building those, you're like, what the hell are they building? Right? They're all building this. Oh, we got a time. We got to beat the next time. So they're building all these units, and it was for the laser of the Death Star.
Wow. I'm so glad I did not catch that. I just figured, yeah. Oh, that's great.
They were building it. Because if you watch towards the end, at the end of the credits, they show the Death Star being put together, the first one. So
wow. What were your other high notes? Though that was the prison scene in the Star Wars.
It was my favorite. It was my favorite storyline, the whole thing with it. The only thing other than that, I think it really showed that the Empire were bastards. They were just they weren't like they try to paint him as they're a force and they have Vader and they have Palpatine and they have the Stormtroopers and they have everything that's all more powerful than the universe itself. But in the end, you never see how they treat normal people that are not rebels. Because they're going after rebels. That's their thing. Going after rebels, right? We're going to destroy rebels. But here they show, well, hey, we need workers. You're going to go to a prison. We're in the middle of like the ocean, right? Because they had all these pods everywhere. Who knows how many prisons they had there? They must have had a lot if they were building the friggin' Death Star from the prisoners. But yeah, I think that was really, it was really well integrated in this to show that it brought the Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. It brought it together into it.
Yeah, and that, one of your earlier points I want to agree with, I had the down great locations. I thought all the locations really just captured the spirit and feel of the Star Wars universe. Yeah. Without feel, even the beach kind of vacation planet, he got pinched on. If I recall correctly, when Mama Boy was back home, he got cereal was in blue milk. I always love to see some blue milk on the screen.
But he wasn't. We won't talk about the other stuff anyway.
Oh, just his relationship with his mom. I thought it was enjoyable, even if it was just like it really cut.
But the thing is, you really know, like you said, his little speech kind of felt like a deadpan, right? So now you understand why.
I feel like his whole character, honestly. Well, what else
I
you
think
got
he
for
was
high
a weak.
notes?
What's that?
What else you got for high notes?
High notes. I love the spy. I call him the Spy Master, but was it Luthen Rail? Is that his name?
Yeah, Luthen.
Yeah, I think he's like one of my favorites. Just because I like the fact that he's playing, like he's got an antique store and he's playing like, he's like full in with the rebellion, but yet he's still keeping his secret identity. But the guy's like an older dude and he's a badass. He's just a badass. It's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. No,
this ship is cool.
Yeah, Luthen as a spy master is definitely a highlight. Yeah, that was other one of my high notes. Obviously, the starship, essentially with the lightsabers, does the spin and cuts the two TIE fighters in half. Top
He has a lot of Jedi stuff, man. I'm telling you.
Secret Jedi. One Kyber crystal.
Secret Jedi.
If anyone's going to have... Well, we can get to that later. Because that's not a thing yet.
No, it's not.
Yeah, so going into... Well, what'd you think of the whole Mon Mothra side?
I like that little... I mean... I was kind of bored a few times, but I get bored with the whole politics crap that they,
Yeah, no, I thought they was like, it was just enough.
Yeah, I think it was just enough, yeah.
Just as I'm starting to get bored, it's like, oh, you're supposed to, because it is
Yeah,
politics.
So you kind of need to see that aspect of it. But again, it stayed true to, to Lucas's vision on how the politics were going on during that time period, so.
Yeah, well, so moving on to the low notes.
Low notes.
Are you starting this one then?
Okay. And I had it in my brain what the low notes were. So here's one. Like, I didn't mind, Andor's past, but I thought I think they should have had subtitles because they were talking, and it was like, well, what the hell are they saying? Like, I get it. There was some critical acting with like the movements and stuff. But
yeah.
I would like to know what the hell they're talking about, especially when.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that unless you're supposed to be seeing through the eyes of another character, right? So it's like, oh, hey, I'm a human that's crash landed on an alien planet. Yeah, no, obviously the alien shouldn't have subtitles because the other human in the movie doesn't understand. So why should the viewer understand? Right. I love it. Actually, scenes like this. But I agree with you. That was one of my low notes. Like, some backstory.
Because we're flashbacking, like
how he got adopted, and it just didn't really matter.
No.
I don't think it made me appreciate his character anymore.
No. I kind of thought it was a little boring, and that's the first 2 episodes.
Yeah, and that's essentially why I think the first 2 episodes almost lost me. I'm just like, what? Yeah, so that segues really nicely into one of my low notes, which is like, it's really hard. It was hard for me to get into this. I went into it thinking, oh, hey, this is a B character from a sub Star Wars movie.
Not everybody liked it.
I didn't go in. Yeah, I just didn't go into it being like, I want to learn more about Cassie. And I'm like, his character was kind of meh. And part of that I realized is he's got an eternal pouty face. He always looks like someone peed in his blue milk. Right? He's always so sad. I'm like, crack a fucking smile.
So a resting bastard face.
Come on, Cassian.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, okay, maybe that's why they wasted like an hour on his backstories to explain why he's pouty face all the time. I'm like, oh, okay, now I get why he's always fucking sad. But Jesus. And yeah, he's had it hard. I'm not saying he has to.
Well,
be
he also
happy,
makes his own problems too.
Just don't expect me to be like, I'm super excited about watching the show where someone's fucking sad all the time. And it is a problem. Like Disney Plus was like, wow, people aren't watching Andor as much as it is. Critics love it, but they've release it. Yeah, they've sold it to Hulu or given rights to other distribution companies to be like, oh, please watch it.
Please,
so I do feel like that's our job, guys. Oh, that was the other thing. Like, second episode, I fucking fell asleep. First episode. I straight up fell asleep.
I told you.
And I was like, well, I was in and out. I remember most of it. And I'm like, okay.
That fever.
I got to do this.
You had that fever going on.
I got to do this. No, this is before. I watched 2 episodes before I got, 2 or 3 before I got sick. And then second episode, I'm like, let there be a recap. Please let there be I'm like, yes, there's a recap.
Really? And if you want to just like get into the good parts, watch the recap on episode 3.
Kind of.
That will cover everything you need to know. Everything you need to know about
Yeah. That might be actually solid advice. Or I think if Disney really desperately wanted to piss off the director and make it more palatable for your average viewer, I really think the first 3 episodes could have been trimmed down a little bit.
Especially the backstory on Andor is just like we really went to too many episodes for this.
Yeah. I mean, again, it was another, I guess it set up, I guess I was already convinced he had plenty of reasons to be mad at the Empire. But essentially, the Empire took him from his original family and destroyed his sister and
Yeah.
On top of everything else, I guess builds a character. But I'm just trying to play devil's advocate here, right? I also thought it was a little much.
I need more low notes.
Oh, I thought his arrest.
Yeah.
After everything that he went through.
That's what I was trying to remember.
It was
like the whole thing was just dumb. But I get it. Maybe they're just trying to get people their encampments, the prisons for them to be, forced labor. But yeah, all of a sudden they just show up and they arrest him. And he's just there, like,
yeah, for everything that he did and that he went through and and I get it. They're trying to be like, look, Empire really bad. I was like, again, we already feel it. We already get that the Empire is really bad.
Yeah. Especially
we
with the
don't
whole
need
prison
another
thing.
example that isn't all that plausible. That you just get arrested for just standing somewhere.
I got another low note, right? So he gets out and he goes back to that planet and he finds his little suitcase of cash.
Right.
Dude, how long was he gone for? Like, he must have been gone for a year, and all of a sudden his little cash is on top of like a vanity or something like that.
It was like on top of the shower. Honestly, I believe it.
You believe it? No.
Little side story.
Uh-oh.
I was flying, international flight, was living in Europe, and I screwed up, and I had left in my carry-on bag a knife that actually Ken gave to me when I left for Germany. So super sentimental, you can't take this. I'm like, well, and they're like, oh, you can ship it back, and it's like 50 euros I didn't have or whatever. So I'm like, fuck. I go into the bathroom and they've got like the condom vending machine toiletry. I just put it on top of that. I come back a week later. It's still there.
Oh my god.
So my Swiss Army knife can be in a
awesome.
Yeah, if I can just
was it overhead or was it like at eye level?
It was higher than eye level, but it wasn't. But it's still like
dude.
So if I can stash a knife in an
nobody
airport
wants to
for
clean.
a week.
Nobody wants to clean those toilets. So screw that.
Yeah. Who needs to dust the top of the condom dispenser?
That's awesome.
If I can stash a knife there, I think Andor can leave his little hidey hole on top of a shower and some.
Well, with that story, I guess I'll pull my low note out there.
But still, his arrest was just like, there's so many more creative ways he could have gotten arrested, right? Just traveling or mistaken ID.
Absolutely. Dude, the guy was being chased. He was being chased by all these people were chasing him. They knew what he looked like. And he got arrested because he walked in the...
Yeah. And then the court scene was like, okay, I get it. Empire sucks. This is still not believable.
No, but anyway, that was a low note.
But at least that scene had the upside of K2SO being voiced by Alan Tudyk, even if for a short little while. I thought that was
what would have been cool if that would be like he would have short circuited and be like, all right, let's get out of here. I'm gonna save you, dude. I was totally waiting for that. When I was watching it and the robot picked him up, I was waiting for the robot to turn around and hit the trooper, and it's like, let's go.
Yeah,
I was waiting for that.
I was hoping, but
anyway, it didn't happen.
No,
he went to jail instead.
Next season.
Yeah.
So really, that's it for me for
that's
super low notes. So on to the static. I got my own static sound.
No.
If you don't like it, I can change it. We can change it.
No, dude. You work so hard on this stuff. I like anything you do. So static. Well, it was slow going. For like you said in the beginning, it was slow.
I feel like it's still a low note, but I mean, were there any other lulls? Did you feel after episode 3 or any other kind of sidelines that you didn't really appreciate?
Well, I you know how I feel about the whole political environment, and I felt like some of the relationships were kind of
if
forced.
you don't have Jar Jar as a senator, I don't want to watch it. Misa gonna ruin the Empire.
He's the Sith Lord, dude. I'm telling you. Watch the series. Anybody who listens to this, if you want to watch the, for New Year's, you want to watch the prequels.
I'm cutting this out. I get final say in edits. This whole thing.
Picture Jar Jar Binks.
Get cut.
No, you're not cutting this. Picture him as a Sith Lord. He's the boss. He's the real boss. And I tell you, you're going to enjoy those immensely. I'm telling you. And send us an email. We'll tell you at the end of the
Well,
episode.
he's a fucking lord of ruining the prequels for me, that's for sure.
Misa call. Anyway, so
my
it's a little slow in the beginning.
my-
And his flashback was that's what killed it for me.
You're retreading old territory.
I
here.
know. I know. I'm going backwards. We're not supposed to do that. But again, that's going into the static for me because
What'd you feel about the kind of the end funeral?
you know what? I liked it. I thought it was it was a good way to get like the blood pumping for the rebellion. You know what I mean? I thought it was pretty good. I didn't think it was a bad thing.
Yeah, I like how she called out her being a hypocrite. She's like, I know it's easy to say to fight when you're dead. But and then she truly didn't really start fighting until she's like, well, I'm almost dead, so I'm gonna screw over the Empire. But still, I mean, it's never too late to make a difference. So so there's that. Static for me, my silly one. This is on par with if Jennifer Walters drives into the Hulk with a Jeep, the Jeep goes flying, not the Hulk. Was
Here we go again
the
with
scene
She-Hulk season episode 1.
we peaked early. But,
Anyway, I don't mean to derail you or anything.
in the end fight scene there, where the dude headbutts a stormtrooper, I'm like, that's not happening. I know that like stormtroopers are Star Wars's favorite foil. Like, hey, look, they
can't shoot.
and they can't shoot, and they trip over each other climbing through a hole, and
that Wilhelm scream.
and Ewoks can knock them around like no problem. But still, you don't headbutt a stormtrooper. You don't headbutt. No, like as my wife loves to say, for reasons I'm not sure of, no one wins in a headbutt. Right? And
you don't want to know why.
And you sure as shit don't win when the other dude's wearing a helmet. So some of my static, it's like, oh, all the good writing, like punch him and knock the helmet off, then give him the headbutt or something like that. But yeah, well, I guess for me the real static is the noise around Andor is whether or not Spy Master Luthen Rael
Is a Jedi.
or not. And again, it's really tempting because he has a extendable pole and a kyber crystal.
And his ship is a badass.
And the ship with lightsabers. But for me, and again, there's some of the newer stuff that I haven't seen, I could be missing out on or whatever, is that there's no way a Jedi is going to be able to be literally under the Sith Lord's nose and not be detected. Especially through an era where they've got Inquisitors actively roaming. Well, I guess at this point in the timeline, it should only be Vader and Palpatine left, right? There should be no other...
There's other Jedis, but they went into hiding, remember?
Yeah. Like,
that's
far away in the outer rim.
And Obi-Wan's that's the same era too. Like the Obi-Wan Kenobi's show and this show are kind of like close in, like you said, the Inquisitors and stuff.
Well, I mean, during Andor, Luke's like 19, so Obi-Wan was
you're right,
6 or 7 years.
So I think
in the past,
yep, you're right.
Actually, to add a little bit to the static, because one of the things is like, okay, so during Andor, the Empire's been around 19 years. I don't feel like that's a really...
let's put some friggin' it's easy to just put font that says, this is such and such 15 years before Battle of Endor or something like that on there. So so your brain's not trying to mesh like I just did, trying to mesh Kenobi and this in the same. It's not. It's not. And then you got Mandalorian, which is ahead, not behind. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because Mando's...
I think it's a couple years after
5 years after 5 to 9 after...
Something like that, yeah.
Return of the Jedi.
Yeah. So we have the static. We've come to terms.
Yeah, you got nothing
yours.
else on
Well,
on
like
him
I
being
said,
a
the
Jedi
whole
Master?
Force relationship of
Yeah, well, how do you feel about that? Like
What?
for me, it was like Yoda had to hide on Dagobah next to
Go back to the Jedi
next
thing.
to a dark Jedi or dark Force, dark energy cave. So
to mask his
to
presence.
mask his presence.
Yeah.
And yet, because that was, I heard from you, it was like, oh, and some of it, the Jedi can just turn themselves off from the Force. I'm like, okay, that's kind of like gouging out your eyes, I would imagine. Maybe if that is the true, it makes his "I've given up everything" speech that much more powerful. Can you imagine being connected to all the living force of energy emanating and connecting all living things to cut yourself off from that?
Well, that's what Obi-Wan did. And Ahsoka did that too when she left the Jedi Order. She cut herself off from the Force.
I don't believe it. Then it's bad writing. But, well, again, I guess in Timothy Zahn's books, right, with the Heir to the Empire, you've got the...
I re-listened to the three of those, by the way.
What's that?
I re-listened to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, it was
so
amazing.
how did they say, what are the name of the... And I actually hated them. It was my least favorite part. But there
The
was
Cabal?
the
Cabal?
Sigral, the
I don't...
the animals that have the anti-force bubble around them.
Oh, yeah. Jeez, I don't remember, dude.
Oh, I guess it wasn't that recently.
Well, it's about a month ago when I...
Okay, I read the books like a decade ago.
Okay, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, at any rate, so there's
Those
these
things
animals that make the anti-force bubble.
No, they're gonna be in. They're gonna be in the new Ahsoka, I'm sure, because that's what Grand Admiral Thrawn uses.
Yeah, it's my least favorite thing. It doesn't make any. It's like, hey, there's this mystical force that connects everything. Why does this one thing block it? And I know in the books they explained it like, oh, they needed to evolve that because they were being hunted by animals that hunted with the Force, and so they made the bubbles. Like, yeah, but still, it doesn't make sense that here's this thing that binds all living things together.
He's such a Jedi.
So it's like, oh, if an animal can make an anti-force bubble, then you should probably be able to do it with technology. And I don't want that. I like the idea that there's this unmovable, right? Because you've already got the yin and yang of it.
Yeah.
You've already got the dark side.
Yeah.
Right? So it's already, I feel like it's already balanced. You don't need to be like, oh, there's a good side, a bad side, and now we can just have a fucking no force zone. Like, no, that's...
Well, there's the gray side, too. The middle.
Yeah, which when I was reading about some of the other fan theories of why Luthen might be a Jedi, they're like, oh, there was a Jedi, a gray Jedi that kind of went missing about that time, and he also would have had a lightsaber that blah, blah, blah.
Oh, man, that's pretty cool. I want that to happen.
I'll admit, I mean, it was...
When they take stuff from, like, the books or like, the lore, right?
Legacy lore?
Yeah. I think that really, makes the universe even better, honestly, compared to what they've been doing to it.
Oh, I'm super excited about Thrawn. When they name drop Thrawn. And I guess he's been in some of the animated stuff. I didn't get that
Rebels.
far into
You
it.
love Rebels. It's good.
I started it. It's decent.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see a lot of those characters live
Oh,
action.
you are. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, all right. If there's no more static, just to recap, thanks everyone for listening. When it comes to Andor, both Eric and I really say it's a must watch. Honestly, sure the first couple of episodes were hard, but the payoff is definitely worth it.
Keep watching.
Again, just like The Expanse, those first 3 episodes, you got to get through them. The payoff is
that's what you kept telling me.
Is huge,
and I was like, this is the best show ever.
Yeah, and again, we both agreed that the scenery and really captured the essence of Star Wars, along with some really just top-notch dialogue that really kept.
Yeah, they really went all out with the writing, so I highly recommend it. Yeah,
kudos to that. Signing off. This is your other host, Jarod,
and your host, Eric.
And remember, it's not the destination;
it's the journey, baby.
Woo!
Happy New Year!
Happy New Year, everyone.